When you stop chasing an avoidant, they come back. And the reason they come back is not because time heals all wounds. It's not because you're lucky. It's because of their psychology. It's because of the rooted mechanism in place as avoidant people. And I'm a therapist, but also a former avoidant. And I wanted to shoot this video to explain this mechanism in place, because sometimes we just need to understand those pieces of information to make the right decision. Right now, maybe you have a hard time letting go. Maybe right now, you just simply want to connect. You just want to explain yourself. This is not the right thing to do, because if you stop chasing them, you will create the right dynamic. So what you need to assess also is whether this breakup is the result of a push-pull dynamic. This anxious avoidant dynamic that I see very frequently amongst my clients. What happens is that for avoidant, being pursued feels overwhelming. They feel, oh, they are smothering me, right? And so when we put too much pressure, when we ask too much of them, they pull back. And when they pull back, what do? We become more clingy, and so on and so forth. So what happens is after a breakup, if you don't give them the space, if you continue chasing them, you make things worse. Because if you chase them, you're also creating this idea of you're not independent. And they hate this idea of you depend on them and they depend on you. I mean, for me, as an avoidant, it's something that really overwhelms me when I feel that people depend on me. And equally, if I need to depend on people. Also, when you create that space, that helps them to process emotions. So the thing is, the way avoidant process emotions is not by connecting with people. It's not by opening up. Right now, if you are heartbroken or if you have a hard time dealing with this breakup, your immediate reaction is to vent, is to talk to people, is to discuss things out, which is in a way the right way to heal and to unpack those things. For avoidant, when they have a problem, they keep things to themselves. But this distance, this space on their own will force them to reflect. And there's been a study from 2010 explaining that avoidance, so it doesn't feel like this when we date them or when we break up with them, they crave connection. They crave connection because it's a deep need. We are social animals. And the problem is that they are scared of engulfment. They are scared of this dependency. For them, it's a bad world, right? So it's finding the right balance as you try to reconcile between that connection and that dependence. The right relationship is when you are interdependent. And as part of this healing process after this breakup for you, you have to find ways to develop a form of independence. Because that's also the impact of creating that space on your avoidant partner. First of all, the first impact is the psychology of missing someone, which is basically more or less the same for regardless of the attachment style. When we don't have someone, when we miss something, we have automatically those, the dopamine will rise because of uncertainty, because of absence. People who design games, slot machines, they know that very well. And that's why they put the outcome always to be uncertain, always to be where you're not sure about the outcome. And because of that, the dopamine effect is higher. That's why we are so hooked on notifications, on our emails or social media, because we don't know what we're going to see. Okay, and it's designed to be addictive. So it's the same here. The absence, the uncertainty creates a dopamine. Also, when we're not with the person, you start to process memories differently. We discussed earlier on about this element of pressure. When you're gone, the pressure of the relationship is gone. So what's left of the relationship is the happy memories, is what you had, is the connection, right? And also what we do in the way we process memories is that we tend to keep good memories, and the bad ones, they don't necessarily disappear, but they fade out. They lose in terms of intensity. And so what happens is, as they start processing those memories, they might wonder if they made a mistake. Okay? So it's a process, and it's not like overnight that they will think and realize those things. Nostalgia takes a bit of time. Thinking about, regretting things, etc., takes a bit of time. And that's what you have to understand. So right now, the problem is that you're in this fight internally between, I need that validation, I need that reassurance, I need to know that they have moved on. But at the same time, if you break that no contact, if you chase them, you're preventing them from experiencing this. So it's important to get that reminder. And I think if there's only one value for this video, is for you to understand that if you are skeptical about going no contact, if you are struggling to find the motivation, remember what I say in this video. I made it for you to be resilient and to make the right choices right now. Not based on your attachment style, not based on what you would want to hear if you were in their shoes, but what you should be doing, knowing about their attachment, knowing about their psychology. So as I said, the reason chasing push them away is that it's creating that, it confirms this idea that you always need me. You can't be independent. Also, I'm chasing you, and therefore I'm preventing you from being autonomous, from being independent, because I need you. What happens is when you trigger someone, you trigger fight or flight response that you might have heard before. For avoidant, they don't necessarily fight, they fly. They disappear, they withdraw, they dismiss things. And also something that you have to understand, and again, it's about shifting things. Understand and having this mental flexibility when you start understanding their psychology. Because for the same situation you might fight, they will fly. It's not that one is better than the other, it's just how they respond. And it's important for you to understand those things. The way they see chasing is something overwhelming. It's not love. That's something very important. For you, potentially, you're thinking, I love them. And if only they knew how much I love them, they'll get back with me, right? And it's just a question of proving them how much I love them. But you see, from an avoidant point of view, that's overwhelming. They can't process this. In other words, your avoidant partner will not get back with you because you are proving them how much you love them. That's not what they need. It sounds very, very harsh if you have an anxious attachment style, but that's not what will bring them back. What they need is to be calm, is to have no pressure, is to feel in control, to feel safe. If you're pushing them an agenda that they're not comfortable with dealing with, if you have difficult conversations, if you have emotional conversations, especially right after the breakup, they won't be able to process them and they will dismiss and they will push back and fly, as I discussed. How stopping chasing would change the dynamic. So as I said, it gives them the space they need to reflect. Relationships are very simple. You just need to meet your partner's needs. If your partner is avoidant, if you guys broke up, what they need is space. Simple as that. When you stop chasing, you also, in a way, show them a different image of you. You show them that you can be independent, and maybe that's something that you lacked throughout the relationship. And now they see that you can have this independence. Now they can start creating an alternative narrative when it comes to assessing your relationship, because that's what matters. They won't get back with you if you end up in this anxious avoidant trap that we discussed before, the push-pull. You hated the push-pull, they hated the push-pull as well. So it's about creating the right environment. And as I said before, it's about creating this interdependence. Also, when you stop chasing, it's not manipulative, but that's human nature. They'll be curious about why you stop, right? And you're going to get this shift in power dynamic. Relationship is always about power, is always about ego. As you reclaim that power, as you are reclaiming this side of the relationship in a way that creates a form of balance, right? And I might feel, I broke up with them, I hold the narrative, I'm in control, etc., etc. When actually you sort of answer to this by, I'm giving you the breakup, I'm not going to pressure you, I'm not going to be the one being clingy like I was potentially right after we break up. I understand those things. I will act with maturity. This will recreate a different dynamic, a more balanced thing. If your partners feel superior or inferior, that's not going to work. Relationships, the only way to rebuild a relationship is when we feel it's balanced. So the whole point of the process after a breakup is to find how to create that balance. There's another element as well, psychological element, the scarcity effect, which is this time the same for most attachment, for most people. Scarcity is this idea, because it's rare, because it's not abundant, I would value these things, right? And avoidant, they will focus on what they might lose. And so this idea that you're not available anymore, that you're not chasing them, because in a way, they were attracted by this early in the relationship, because you have this emotional intelligence, because you are caring. So in a way, when you stop giving those things, they start figuring out and they start missing those aspects. And if you're interested, there's been a study from Cialdini. They analyze how scarcity and how resources can affect desirability in relationships. And so this element, because you're not around, because you disappear, you're raising your value in some sort, and that will definitely impact avoidant people. So when they come back, what does it mean? It means that they've had time to process things, right? They would never ever, let's put it this way, they would never ever reach out to you if they haven't really processed things. In a way, you might see and perceive that avoidant, they're very strong, they're not scared. The thing is, they are scared of rejection. So if they reach out to you, and that's why they will always really send something very small, very short, low intensity, low investment, just to test the water. And when they reach out, that's positive. I'm not going to lie, that's positive. That's what we want. And that's a manifestation of them longing the relationship, being curious about how you've been, etc., etc. But this is very important as well. It's not a guarantee of change. Sometimes people will reach out, will send something just to make sure that you're around, or just out of curiosity. Curiosity is not commitment, right? If they reach out, that's a good sign. It means that the space that you created helped them to reflect. It's going in the right direction, but there's no guarantee about the outcome. You're just at step one of this ladder that you're about to climb. So what happens is, yes, avoidant come back when you create the right space. This is true if you had a mutually loving relationships. And if you're not sure about the dynamic, etc., have a look at the assessment in my description. The point of this assessment is to really assess whether this person is avoidant or just not into you. Whether this person is avoidant and has potential to address things, or whether this person is avoidant and will be avoidant with every single partner they date, and therefore you should not be in that relationship. So this space, stop chasing them, will create this element of emotional independence. And the thing is, you have to do it for yourself anyway. Regardless of the outcome, you have to develop a form of emotional independence. And perhaps the reason you have a hard time dealing with this breakup is because of this emotional dependency. And that's why right now, what matters is the work that you're doing on yourself. The reason you stop chasing them is not because you want them to react. It's because you want to focus on yourself. And eventually they'll come back on their own terms. But again, I don't want you to have boundaries that are fluid. I don't want you to end up in a relationship where you feel you cannot express your emotions. I don't want you to end up in a relationship where you feel you can't be who you are. You can't do the things you like doing. If it's, I don't know, moving in together, doing things together. It's important to assess as part of getting back with them whether you want them back as well. That's what matters. That's the most important thing. Yes, you create the space, you're going to maximize your chance of getting back together. But when you are back together, when you are in the process of reconnecting, now it's your turn to realize, do I accept this type of behaviors? What are the form of commitments that I expect from my partner? And if it's not clear, you need to do the work beforehand to make sure that you have the confidence to walk away if the relationship is not right for you. This is extremely important. I don't want to, and again, I'm helping people to get back with the ex, but more importantly, I help them to find the right relationship. And sometimes you won't get the right relationship with this person. You didn't know when you dated them that that was not a good match. You had an amazing relationship for the first, I don't know how long, year, 10 years. Great, amazing. But this person, understand that this person also chose not to do the work. If it's about commitment, if it's about emotional intimacy, they're adults. And if they're not willing to do the work, while you are willing to do the work, you are wasting your time. So stop chasing yes, but the only thing you need to chase right now is how you can be happy in your relationship, regardless of who you date. If that was helpful, let me know in the comment section if you liked it. Don't forget to like. I'll see you next time. Take care.